Hi, what a spectacular day we have had today. I mean, we go from almost hurricane weather and torrential rain to stunning, gorgeous sunshine. Now, I had my friend Karen Wade sent me a whole bunch of beautiful pictures of Mount Washington that she took while she was up skiing. And I was thinking, you don't have beautiful snow conditions unless you have a little bit of rain. And so this coastal weather that we have is actually part of the reason that our real estate market is so busy. I mean, we're not living out east where it's freezing cold, and our snow is right now staying up on the mountaintop. So this beautiful weather on this gorgeous Vancouver island is a lot of the reasons why people want to live here. So all the way across Canada, including the lower mainland, people are looking for real estate here in the Comox Valley. So we have to consider ourselves very lucky that we already live here. We're going to have a look at what's happened in the last year in 2020 when it comes to the real estate numbers. And then we're going to have a little bit of a talk about the predictions of where we're going in 2021. So stick with me. This is Heather with eXp Realty. We also can't ignore the facts that in 2020, during the pandemic, people were forced to stay at home. People were forced to work from home. And a lot of those people never went back to work in the office. And so they're looking for bigger spaces. They're homeschooling their children. There's so many changes that have happened in 2020 that have really affected the real estate market. So everything combined is making moving to our island even more desirable. Let's review the real estate market from 2020 to where we're at today. We're going to go over both the Comox Valley and the Campbell River markets together. Before we get started, I want to let you know that I use the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board statistics because I'm a member of that board. So the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board reports that sales of single-family homes in December actually increased by 34% from 1 year ago. And it also says that it's 28% lower in December than it was in November of 2020. What does it mean? What it means is November sales were more than they were in December because there were more homes that came on the market. Therefore, right now, our market has a lack of supply. So I'm not talking about a 34% increase in dollar volume for homes that have sold. I'm just talking about the number of sales has increased by 34% over this time last year. Now, one of the other things that I think is important to draw to a lot of people's attention is that these numbers actually exclude acreages and waterfront properties. So when you're looking at real estate statistics that are coming from the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board, it is not talking about waterfront properties or acreages. And the reason they don't add those is because they would skew the numbers, because generally acreages are going to sell for a lot more than a residential home in a particular area where there's lots of homes. And of course, waterfront properties are valued higher. So if you have acreage or you have waterfront property, it's interesting to learn about the real estate market right now and what's happening with prices and sales, but you are quite independent on your own, and you would have to actually ask your real estate agent or myself to do a market analysis for you, showing you acreages or waterfront properties and not grouping you in with a mass of other sales. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about in a minute. So the lowest inventory on record closes out the year. That means that there were not very many homes on the market, and there were still a pent-up amount of buyers looking to either move into the Campbell River Comox Valley area, or people within those areas moving up, and we call this a socio ladder, or taking their home and taking equity out of their home and getting into something smaller. Retirement is a really good example of how that happens. So consumer demand is high, and buyers are snapping up well-priced properties quickly as soon as they hit the market. And according to the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board president, which is our Kevin Reed, multiple offers today are commonplace. And I certainly can attest to this because I have done several offers in the last few weeks, and in a lot of cases, we were up against 6 other offers, which is a lot for a buyer to contend with. It's already an extremely nerve-wracking process to put your home on the market and to sell it, or to sell your home when you don't have another home yet purchased. So let's go through now the numbers. And I'm going to start off in the Comox Valley with residential sales analysis on single detached homes. So these were the number of sales from January to December 31st, 2020. And in total, 778 detached properties sold. Now I put a big red circle around 400,000 to 800,000 because this is where the majority of the sales are taking place, and in particular between 500,000 and 700,000. If you have a detached home, that is where the mass amount of homes are trading hands today in the Comox Valley. Now, in the Campbell River area, there were less sales. There were 519 total sales. And of course, the dollar volume for which those homes are selling was less as well. So they go from 400,000 to just 700,000. And you can see that is where the most amount of homes are trading places right now between buyers and sellers. And that has a lot to do with what type of homes are on the market for sale in the Campbell River area, because once you get under 400,000, you're going into a rancher style, and then you're ending up closer to perhaps a townhome under the 350,000 mark. So what we found out with detached homes in the Campbell River area is it finished off at approximately 473,000. And I would like to say that that number has probably gone up a little bit since these numbers were recorded at the end of December. So 473,000 is the average cost of a home in Campbell River, and it is up $50,000 from where it started a year ago. So Campbell River actually has seen the biggest increase in the price of homes over the Comox Valley. Now, the Comox Valley's home prices are higher. They're $550,800. And when they started the year back in January of 2020, they were at $531,800. So that's just a $20,000 increase in the price of homes in the Comox Valley. So Campbell River saw the biggest increase in home prices in detached homes, but I can tell you right now the Comox Valley market is extremely busy, and if there's anything priced under 600,000, it is going to be in multiple offers and it is going to sell immediately. Now, if we look at townhomes, we can see in Campbell River that the market finished at 362,700. It started at $336,000. Now, the other number that you're looking at, the 355,000, that was actually in November. So only a month ago, they were at 355,000. So you can see how busy the market has been. And that increase for Campbell River in 1 year was $26,500. In the Comox Valley, it was a little bit of a different story. They actually decreased in the year by $6,000. So they finished off at an average price of $423,600, and the month prior it was $414,000. But when the year started in January 2020, townhomes were $429,600. Now, is that decrease because A lot more townhomes have become available. There's a lot more construction going on in the Comox Valley when it comes to condominiums, townhouses, including detached housing. So that was really interesting. In Campbell River, townhomes increased by $26,000, whereas in the Comox Valley, they decreased by $6,000. And then we're going to look at apartments. So what happened to apartments in Campbell River? Well, they ended the year at $262,800 as an average price. Just in November, they were $257,900. So they've inched their way up in just 1 month, but they started the year at $260,600. So that's only an increase in 1 year of $2,200 for an apartment. Whereas in the Comox Valley, the increase was $20,000 in 1 year. So we ended the year at $332,400, but we started the year with an average price for an apartment at $312,600. So you can see the largest margin of increase comes from detached housing, and probably because it is the most popular type of real estate that is trading hands right now. So what are the 2021 predictions that I can see happening at this time? I think there's a continued pressure on new listings. So depending on what it is you need to sell, whether it's a condo townhouse or a detached house, there is a lot of pressure on new listings, and in particular, if you have a detached house. Having said that, we do know that if people put their properties on the market that are way over what the price should be, buyers are not going to pay that price. At this point, this is what we're seeing. So we have a lot of demand for product because we have a lack of product on the market. We have more migration from other provinces and the lower mainland to the island, and in particular to the Comox Valley, because it is such a beautiful place to live, and to Campbell River, because we're right on the ocean. We've got the ski hill as our backyard, and it's just an incredible place to call home. As we know, we're the lucky ones that live here, right? We've got continued low interest rates. In fact, the mortgage rates, they're at a historic low. And because of that, what you have right now are banks that are willing to take the lowest rate and whatever rate you are at, if your term's not up, and to balance in the middle without even giving you a penalty. And I think that you should be talking to your finance officer, whoever that is, your mortgage broker, about your mortgage today. Even if your term is not up, I think it's a good idea to have a discussion. There seems to be more movement in the socio ladder of life, and I have loved using this word for over 30 years that I've been in real estate. And that means there are people going up, moving up the ladder. These are people that are having families, their families are growing, maybe they're making more income, or maybe they're working from home now and need a larger home. So they are selling their existing property and buying a bigger property. And then there's people that are coming down the socio ladder as far as retirement goes. There's people that get divorced, there's people that die, there's babies being born. This is all part of the real estate market, and it goes up and it goes down. So these are the things that I think that considerations for selling in today's market is you have to stay up to date on the market conditions, and every type of property and every location is completely different. I talked to you about acreages, and I talked about waterfront property. We talked about detached housing, townhouses, condos. Every aspect of the market is independent of another, and you need to stay up to date with what the value is of your property. You need to ask the right questions. You need to be working with someone that's professional and knows the answers. You need to know what your financial obligations are if you sell. You need to be pre-qualified for where it is you want to go. And I say especially in this market, and two reasons why. During the COVID pandemic now, a lot of times real estate agents do not want buyers coming through the home if they're not qualified to purchase that property. So you should find out what your financial obligations are, as well as if you end up in multiple offer situation, even though you want a subject to financing clause, you need to be sure you can afford to purchase that property. I've already mentioned you need to know your home's value. In fact, it's really good to know your home's value, even if you do not plan on selling. It's not necessarily the value that your tax assessment. So knowing the value of your property over and above what your assessed value is. Know the costs involved with moving, the cost of hiring a real estate agent, the cost of having a home inspector, all the different types of inspectors. A home inspector is not necessarily going to check the sewage or your well, if you have a well, or your septic tanks. So there's lots of charges and fees that come over and above just real estate agents' fees. We also have the property transfer tax that is applicable, which came in the 80s, and that is something that buyers have to absorb. There's also GST on new housing as well as vacant land in a lot of cases. And then there are also ways that you can work around GST. So we need to know what's involved and what the costs are when it comes to moving. I also want to say beware of the door knock. I had a client that asked for a market evaluation this week, and he told me that he's had his door knocked on by buyers that are interested to find out if he wants to sell. Now, first of all, that's not a good thing during COVID-19 to be knocking on anyone's door. But the other thing is, you don't know if your value in your property has changed in the last month or not, because the real estate market is moving really fast, and $5,000 or $10,000 more in your pocket is definitely something that you want to be keeping your finger on the pulse of the value of your property. You want to know, how do you get the highest dollar for your home if you do decide to sell your home? And so there's a checklist. There's a checklist of things that the seller should do in order to make sure that they are going to get the highest dollar for their home. Do you have that checklist? So if you're considering buying or selling real estate, make sure that you have your buyer's package, your seller's package, and that you can answer most of the questions that I said are considerations for selling or buying in this market today. And my shout out this video is going to go to down in the Willow Point area. I love the Willow Market for a lot of great fresh produce, vegetables, as well as JB Nails, Jenny down there. She's relatively new. Her business has been slow because of COVID, and she's still open, taking a lot of precautionary measures as she needs to. And as well as Dave's Bakery. And I picked up some wonderful, it was a multi-grain sourdough bread, and it was just delicious. And then if you go across the street, you can always stop at SoCal and grab yourself a snack, lunch, or their cocktail hour is also really good. I would like to talk about what I'm looking for over the next, through the spring market right now. I have a young couple that's coming over from the Ucluelet-Tofino area, and they're looking for maybe a small acreage, 4-bedroom house. And so I'm keeping my eye on the market for any new listings in respect to that. I also have a buyer that's still looking for maybe an oceanfront lot that they could build on or tear down the house. And I have a couple from Cumberland that's looking for larger acreage with a shop on it. And I have a young lady that's looking in maybe downtown Courtenay area for a smaller house, 2+ bedrooms, under the $600,000 mark, 2 bathrooms. It does not need to be a big lot. So those are the buyers that I'm working with right now. And if you have a property that you're thinking of putting on the market, but you would like to know perhaps what it's worth, or where you're going to go if you sell it, because the market is extremely fast right now, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask me for a little bit of direction. This is Heather with eXp Realty. Stay safe.